$1 million, gone in under 3 seconds. Chase Elliott didn't lose his shot at NASCAR's In-Season Challenge because he made a mistake. He lost it because his own teammate got trapped in a system that gives drivers almost no time to think. And what happened on that pit road at North Wilkesboro is way bigger than one bad call. It's exposing something NASCAR teams have been quietly wrestling with all season. Here's what actually went down. Chase Elliott was eliminated from the $1 million In-Season Challenge, losing his semifinal matchup to Todd Gilliland. The reason: a lap 183 incident involving his own Hendrick Motorsports teammate Alex Bowman. Bowman got a late call to pit. He had to react instantly, and in that instant he made contact with Tyler Reddick's car, which was already positioned on his inside line. That contact triggered a caution. The caution scrambled the entire running order. Elliott, who was cycling through green flag pit stops at that exact moment, with 2 laps down. Gilliland didn't. Gilliland finished 8th. Elliott finished 17th. 1 caution flag. $1 million decided. Fans went straight to blaming Bowman. But insiders who've broken down the radio communication are telling a very different story. To understand why this wasn't a simple driving error, you have to understand how pit strategy has quietly changed in NASCAR. Every team now scans every other team's radio frequency. That means if a crew chief announces a pit stop 3 or 4 laps ahead of time, rival teams hear it instantly and can count it a strategy before it even happens. So teams adapted. Crew chiefs stopped giving early warnings. Now the call comes at the last possible moment, often as the car is already screaming down the backstretch at nearly 200 miles an hour. That's exactly what happened to Bowman. According to Insider, breakdown to the radio traffic as crew chief gave the pit call in the middle of turns 1 and 2, not on the approach, not with a buffer. Right in the middle of the corner. By the time the message landed, Reddick's car was already tucked inside him. For Hendrick Motorsports, this isn't just a one-race issue. It's a symptom of a strategic arms race that every team in the garage is now playing. Let's break down what actually happened in that cockpit, because this is where the real story lives. When a late pit call comes in, a driver has to do 4 things almost simultaneously: check mirrors, judge closing speed, decide whether there's a safe window, and execute the move, all inside a couple of seconds at full racing speed. That is an almost impossible ask. And according to insiders, including a former crew chief who broke this down publicly, the smarter move in that exact moment might have been to abort the stop completely. Think about that for a second. Sacrificing track position to avoid a wreck sounds like the obvious choice after the fact. But in real time, with a crew chief's voice in your ear telling you to pit now, hesitation costs just as much as a wrong decision. Drivers are trained to trust the call. That trust is exactly what makes these split-second radio windows so dangerous. Is the current pit strategy smart, or is it reckless? Honestly, it's both. Hiding pit strategy from rivals is a legitimate competitive edge. Teams that broadcast their plans early get out-strategized. But when the price of secrecy is a driver reacting blind at high speed, teams are gambling with contact, and sometimes with a teammate's championship hopes, in the name of information control. And there's a ripple effect nobody's talking about enough. Reddick, who had 0 part in causing this, took a real hit to his regular season points. So this wasn't just Bowman versus Elliott. This was one pit call reaching out and touching 3 separate championship battles at once. The fan reaction was immediate and it was brutal. Social media lit up with fans accusing Bowman of costing his own teammate a shot at $1 million. That's the instinctive read. Car hits car, blame the driver who made contact. But once insiders started actually breaking down the audio, the tone shifted. Analysts pushed back hard on the idea that this was simple driver error. The consensus inside the garage seems to be that this is a structural problem with how modern pit calls are made, not a reflection of Bowman's skill or judgment behind the wheel. That's the emotional whiplash of this story. Instant anger at a driver, followed by a more uncomfortable realization that the sport itself may have set him up to fail. So where does this go from here? 2 scenarios. Best case: Hendrick Motorsports and other top teams start adjusting how late they're willing to call a pit stop, building in a slightly wider safety window, even if it costs a little strategic secrecy. NASCAR takes note of the conversation and it becomes a talking point in future competition meetings. Elliott moves past this. Bowman's reputation takes 0 long-term damage, and this becomes a lesson learned rather than a lasting storyline. Worst case, nothing changes. Radio scanning stays the norm. Late calls stay the norm. And this exact situation happens again to a different team with a different driver and possibly with a much bigger cost than a canceled shot at $1 million. If that happens, expect real pressure on NASCAR to look at communication rules directly. Either way, this incident just pulled back the curtain on a risk that's been sitting under the surface of every single pit cycle this season. So here's the real question. If you're Hendrick Motorsports, do you protect the strategy and accept the risk, or do you protect the driver and give up the edge? Drop your take in the comments. Would you rather lose the pit call secrecy or risk exactly what just happened to Bowman and Elliott? If breakdowns like this are what you come here for, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.